Oh, don't worry. All right, welcome back. I know it's kind of been a hiatus. We've been out for a while, but just given the elections and everything else that was going on, nobody was going to watch anyways. Besides, we've been really busy too. But we will get back and try to answer some questions. This is kind of what with the time that we try to donate to this. But man, lately it's been crazy. With all the laptop systems that we've sent out, I spend half my day on the phone now, working on other people's equipment over the internet. They buy our laptops, they get stuck on something, we have to log onto their laptop and do the troubleshooting on their machines. And not only that, it seems like more and more people are getting word of what we're doing and how we're doing it, and we're just getting machines coming in from all different states. The one, we got two coming in from Arizona tonight. This one behind me came in from Las Vegas, actually Arizona. And they brought it up here because, so this machine right here behind me went to several people who worked on it already. Couldn't get it running, put injectors, fuel system on it. They sent it to Bobcat of Las Vegas. They had it for 10 days. Quoted the guy a new engine, said it was dusted, $34,000 they were going to charge him to put an engine in that machine. He wanted a second opinion, so they drug it up to our shop. We had it running in 25 minutes. The dealer wanted me to call and talk to their mechanic and tell him what we did and how we fixed it. And I don't feel like I owe that dealer I don't owe a dealer an explanation. The end user, independent mechanics, I'll spend all the time with you. A customer of ours, I'll log on, the computer, we'll team viewer, I'll go through, help you, whatever. I'll spend the time with you. But I'm getting to a point where I try to support our dealers. I try to encourage people to support your dealers. The problem is all the mom and pop Bobcat dealers are getting bought up by these corporations, and these corporations are they're brutal. Like, I don't want to sound like a Democrat here, you know what I mean? But it's not about the customer anymore. It is about the bottom line, unfortunately. And I'm just getting to a point where I despise these dealers. The dealers are currently attacking me and what we're doing and trying to get us to stop. However, the interfaces and these computers and everything that we built, it's my design. It's not theirs. I took it, built the protocols, the cables, I put the system together, the customers are buying it, and we're saving hundreds of thousands of dollars every week for these customers who are calling us in doing their own work. And now dealers are calling Bobcat, trying to figure out who I am, what we're doing, and trying to see if we're doing something illegal. Why are we helping you repair your own machines? They don't like it. They don't like it at all. There's nothing they can do to stop us. But the popularity of what we're doing here is exploding, and they're getting word of it, and they're trying to figure out how to stop us because it's taking money out of their pocket. And that's unfortunate because the Bobcat brand, I truly believe in. I love the Bobcat brand. But once the corporations and these corporate dealers start getting involved and see, instead of actually trying to help the customer, because people still pay me for my time, but we're building a relationship, we're building trust with what we're doing. And if the dealers could maintain that trust and build those same relationships instead of just treating them like numbers, they won't help you. I would be interested for someone to tell me if last time you tried to call your dealer and try to get some help over the phone. I'd be interested how it went for you. Maybe it went well, but the majority of the time the dealer will not take the time to help you over the phone. Bring it in or we'll send a guy out to it. That's your only options. For me, my first option when you call me is, can I help you fix it over the phone before we have to go out there and do a call, or before you haul it all the way up here from out of state? Unfortunately, I couldn't work with this guy out of state because he had it at the dealer. And, they didn't have access to the laptops and stuff like that. They just said, I want a second opinion. They just hauled it up to us. And like I said, we got two more coming in from out of state being dropped off, but we get them from Montana, California, Wyoming, Arizona, Nevada, just all around. If it's, people just bring them to us. Why are they not bringing it to their own dealers? Why are they driving past our local dealer, who now our local dealer, which I feel like we have a good relationship, they've got a new sales guy out there that's out there just absolutely trying to trash our name. And it's why? Like, our customers are calling us. I've never even met this guy. And for him to go out there and, anyways, I don't want to get on a soapbox here. We're here to help you, the end user, and talk about your machines and what we can do to try to help fix some of these problems. But one thing I did want to talk about was that right to repair. There's a right to repair. Yes, you own the machine, you can repair it, but do you have the ability to repair that machine? And not necessarily, because the dealers will not sell you that the software, the interfaces, or anything. That's why we had to build our own interfaces and do our own protocols and stuff to do that. And the engines these days is just getting to, there's only so much you can do without software, unfortunately. And most of the videos that we put out are geared to do as much as you can without the software. But literally, I bet this week alone, I know we've saved tens of thousands of dollars just over the internet. I send you my laptop, 30 seconds I log in, and I'll walk through you with you the whole time. We'll just do all the troubleshooting, all the diagnosis, and sometimes we can diagnose it right there. Sometimes I have to make some suggestions. You have to try some stuff, and we eventually get it figured out. But anyways, enough about that. Let's get to some of the questions. Just me tonight. Mike is not with us. That's a whole nother story. Hardell, thanks for being here again. Always loyal. Always good to see you here. And Faux Nickel, hey man. Thanks, yeah. This is more of just being lazy. That's why I've got a beard. Congratulations. I have not had a chance to talk to you, and I feel bad. I should have followed up with you. Faux Nickel has had a major change in his life here recently, and I need to follow up with you, see how that's going. Yeah, Dan, $34,000 for a D34 engine installed. That's about what it cost. $34,000. Dan's best technician outside of Houston, Texas there, as far as Bobcats go. Anyone in that area? Dan is your man. Oh, Todd has a 2005 A300. Okay, Todd, A300 is the worst machine Bobcat ever made. Moving on. Faux Nickel says, not the first time I've heard a dealership say an engine is bad, then another mechanic find a real problem. Yeah, so there was a problem with the engine. They just didn't know how to fix it. They said they had their master tech on it. And 10 or 13 days, whatever the case, they could not figure it out. That's when they said, well, the engine's just bad. It just won't start. Well, that was... And then that's when they wanted me. So we do an engine, we're starting the week after Thanksgiving. We've got people flying in and other dealers coming to our shop. So we're doing actual Bobcat engine training in our shop on the Doosan engine. So we'll have the D24, D34, and also the V2 D24 engines. So we're doing engine class on Monday, December 2nd. We're doing hydraulics December 3rd and electrical December 4th, that Wednesday. So once a quarter, I think we're going to start these classes here in our shop. They're going to be 3-day classes where we supply all the breakfast and lunch and everything. You just have to pay for your own travel and hotel arrangements. But we're going to start doing that because it's getting so popular. So many people are wanting to come out here. So that's what I told the dealer when they wanted me to give them a reason why it wouldn't start. Well, I don't owe them a reason why. I'm sorry they couldn't figure it out, but you're more than welcome to send your guy up here for, the engine class. Send him up here for a day. Now, of course, I haven't heard back from him. But I can do in one day, I can do an engine class in one day. You'll get more information than if you were to go to the actual Bobcat school, which is a week long, and it's a bunch of damn fluff, a bunch of shit. It's a good course, but it's not a week long of fluff crap that you don't need. It's just your normal school crap that they have to do to justify that they charge you thousands of dollars per person for. We only charge, a fraction of that per person per day. But our courses you'll know everything you need to know about a Doosan engine when you leave our course for sure. Todd, I was just kidding about the A300. Let's get back to that. But I wasn't kidding about the worst machine ever being built. Okay. Hydraulic charge filter sensor wires not connected. So he's got multiple codes here. Mike is not here with me, so he usually helps me look up these codes. It looks like you described them a little bit here. Okay, so M series, and maybe Dan, you can help me with this. It says, and maybe even Nickel, hydraulic charge filter sensor wires not connected. Okay, so he's got 60-22 rear auxiliary control out of range low, and 12-22 front auxiliary pulse width modulation switch out of range low. So it sounds like wiring, it just sounds like a bunch of wiring issues to me. We'll start with the front auxiliary pulse width modulation switch out of range low. That's your paddle switch. Your paddle switch is pulse width modulation that runs your auxiliary, so that's going to be the paddle switch on your Cobra head or your joystick. So out of range low is usually an open circuit. You'll see it both open and short depending on the Bobcat troubleshooting trees. So you can't always go out of range low or out of range high and know if that's an open or a short. It's just odd sometimes. So I'll have to look at the specific code and see which one it is. So I really don't know where to go with this other than I'm just looking for like rubbed wires somewhere. Get you a schematic and start ohming out the wires, pinning them back. I would just look. What I would do is I'd open the cab and I would just start looking for rubbed, anything obvious, broken wires, rubbed wires. Yeah, that's a tough one. You just got multiple codes and it all looks like wiring to me. Let's see, Hardell. Man, guys, as soon as I click the thing here, I see all these messages. I'll do my best to get caught up here. Let's see, Hardell says, what is the working temperature for an E80 with a Yanmar engine overheating? Is there any way the hydraulic system could cause the engine to overheat on this unit? Yes, absolutely. Majority of the I can't say the majority of the time, but a lot of times when we have an excavator with an engine overheating, it's not the engine overheating, but it is the hydraulics causing the engine to overheat. So either the hydraulics are running really hot, and the cooler is just putting too much heat into the cooling package, the cooling stack there, and it can't effectively cool the radiator quick enough. So in those cases, we'll have I'd have to look back at the Yanmar one, but we had this issue with our R-series machines, what we call, so the ones with the Doosan engines, is that we have relief valves that were getting stuck. They were bypass valves. And I don't want to get too technical on this because I can't remember like I can visualize it, but I can't describe it. One's a 40 PSI, one's a 60 PSI. They're bypass valves. One was getting stuck and allowing the oil that's supposed to go through the cooler was being bypassed, and it was overheating, causing the engine to overheat. So Hardell, I mean, you're a very good tech. So you can isolate the engine, and the best thing to do is use an infrared gun. Not just not an infrared laser heat gun, but an actual thermal imager if you have access to one. I know on the internet you can buy a thermal imager that you can plug into your phone and go around the hydraulics, but a sticking relief valve or bypass valve or even the cooler. Yeah, so to answer your question, absolutely the hydraulic system can cause the engine to overheat. And it's not the engine's fault, just the engine is not efficiently being cooled because we're putting so much extra heat in through the hydraulic system, if that makes sense. So I can't tell you exactly where to go with that, except, yeah, use some type of thermal imager or something and just start trying to trace your heat source back, see if you can find it. Let's see, it sounds like Bobcat want to shut you out like John Deere. Yeah, John Deere is pretty bad about that. John Deere is pretty aggressive. Some of the other techs and stuff that I deal with. Like, I'm not a professional with, I'm not as good with Deere as I am with Bobcat, but I do have guys that I rely on when I have a Deere issue, and Deere goes after them, so they just have to stay real quiet on the down low. And I do too. Like, I'm not out there just throwing this stuff out everywhere, but yeah, and yeah. Anyways, it's an issue that we're all going to deal with, but you have the right to repair. Everything I built is my design, my product. So yeah, we just found a loophole and we exploited that, and now we can talk to all their machines and do everything that, actually mine will do a lot more than what dealers will do, and that's why the dealers don't like it, is I'm giving people more access than the dealers have. Thanks, Ray. It was a long, and we're still improving on it, but it is getting better, and we're constantly making it better, and I think we've got an excellent product right now that really helps people out. And like I said, the internet access that you have, because once you buy my product, I support it, and just that access has just been huge over the last few weeks here, just for me to log on and go through with you and help you troubleshoot the machines. Dan says his local dealer's been very helpful, but that's probably because I buy a ton of parts and they're rather new. Yeah, that's why me and my local dealer have a good relationship, Dan, is because I am their biggest customer on a monthly basis. I mean, I buy so much from them, and it got to a point. So these corporations, and here's another thing you got to watch out for that drives me nuts about these dealers, is that the corporations coming in here and they're buying the dealers. And now you got to watch. You can go to Bobcat, shop.bobcat.com, and you can check your part number and see how much it costs. Then go to your dealer and see how much it costs. Like my local dealer, they are over 30% over list price. Okay? There's an MSRP price that you should pay. And that's the way it's always been when it's a family-run business. Now it's 30% over list. And that's just the local one. You go downtown, which is owned by the same corporation, it's 40% over list. I bought a part there because I usually don't go to the downtown store, but I was in a situation. I know how much it is because I buy it all the time. But I bought it from them, and I was like, whoa, I only bought one. I didn't buy 5 of them. And 40% over list? Holy hell. It's just, it's sickening, you know what I mean? And they're doing that for absorption rate. They're trying to, parts and service to pay for all these other managers and all these other corporate people's fucking salaries that fly in every now and then in their damn corporate jets and their fancy shoes and shit, and come out there and shit on us little guys turning wrenches and yell at us about efficiency and why we're not there on time and shit. And what'd you get me started on, Dan? Local dealers, yeah. It's a love-hate relationship, isn't it? Is it illegal to fix it on the right to repair, or is it not allowed by dealers? I had a T590. I could not fix the keyless start system and suggested that we buy a new machine. No, there's nothing illegal about fixing your own machine. You own it. It's your machine. You can fix it. It's the ability to fix it. What's illegal? I would say like stolen software or something like that could probably be seen illegal, but the interfaces, and if you buy the licenses through the Doosan side instead of trying to go all through Bobcat, because it's all Doosan, right? Bobcat just puts their name on one side, and Doosan has it's much easier to get the Doosan rights and licenses than it is straight from Bobcat, but it's the exact same software. One says Bobcat, one says Doosan. So like pirated software is like the only thing I could think of that might be looked at as illegal, but the actual interfaces that we build and all that's legal. So no, there's nothing illegal about fixing your own machine. It's just your ability to do it, and they will not sell you the equipment or the software to do it. So that's kind of where the right to repair issue comes into play, is that they won't give you that right now. The government has mandated in some places. Okay, so for instance, in Colorado is like the first state that Bobcat has to abide by government mandated right to repair, but only for farm equipment. So the skid steers, the excavators and stuff do not fall under the farm equipment. So only your tractors, your CT tractors, the Bobcat branded tractors, the Coyote tractors, whatever you want to call them. So if you request the interfaces, and I'm not even sure about the software, but if you request the interfaces and service manuals, they do have to sell them to you, but only for the CT tractors. So right now, the right to repair in Colorado, as far as Bobcat concerns, is only farm equipment. So there's a loophole. See, they don't want to do it. If they were going to say, okay, we would love to give you the right to repair, everyone deserves the right to repair, why wouldn't they do it for all the machines? They're only doing it because the government made them do it for farm class machines. Because if they gave everyone the right to repair, it would take a lot of money out of the dealers' pockets, and the dealers sure as hell ain't going to be happy about that. I'm pretty passionate about this topic, if you haven't noticed. That's why I get sidetracked when someone asks me something about that. So thanks for the question, Daniel. Bradley, 2010 T650 without high flow. Can I put a high flow kit on it? And if we can, what would we need to do this? Thank you. Yes, so the 2010, the T650, you have the ability to put high flow on basically, excuse me, any machine. I'm working with someone right now out of Montana. He's actually doing a high flow kit on a T300. And so I helped him build the kit and put it together, and he's going to film it for me, and then I'm going to narrate it. And so he's in the middle of doing that now. So when he gives that all that to me, I will take his footage, I will narrate kind of what he did, although I'm not the one doing the work, I'll narrate what it took to do that. So long story short, you would go to partscatalog.bobcat.com, look up your serial number, and find the high flow hydraulic kit. And I'm sorry, it's not a kit. You just have to find all the individual parts that will take your triple stack pump now, because it's a high flow pump. And you might have to add a harness, but more than likely the harness will already have a pigtail in the machine, because we have to have another harness. And the other thing is, once you get all that installed, you have to have your computer, you have to tell your computer that now you have high flow, so it'll turn on the high flow. Because you've got a button up in your top screen that'll, you know, standard flow, high flow, and it will not light up right now. But if we told your computer it had high flow, you hit that button, it would turn it on and energize that solenoid for the high flow. So basically, you're going to swap out your whole triple stack pump and basically all the tube lines and stuff to go to it. We have to program your computer. And so, yes, it's absolutely possible. And for a lot of people, it's worth it, especially if you got a good machine, 2010 with a Kubota engine, the C650. That's an excellent machine. And if it's something you want to keep, it might be worth doing the high flow. It can get a little expensive. I can't remember what that kit was, but you're probably going to be about $6 grand, just off the top of my head. Let's see, Jimmy's T595 overheating finally fixed. Man, I remember we talked about this a while back, and so 2 stems out of the box were bad. New hydraulic fan motor, new thermostat, new water pump, radiator clean. Now not over 195 degrees. So a while back, you know, when we were doing the live streams pretty constantly every week, he had a T595 that was overheating, new fan motor, I believe, and if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, but new fan motor, and we kept having stems or so. Anyways, everything that he was describing, you know, because we talked about charge pressure, radiator, what attachments he was using, everything, nothing made sense except this, the fan was not coming up to speed. And the stem that he's talking about here is what controls that speed. So we use pulse width modulation to slowly move a stem. It's basically a flow control valve. Let's call it a flow control valve, but it's a stem with an electric solenoid on it. We use pulse width modulation to slowly move it based off temperature to speed up and slow down the fan. And so we vary the RPM on the fan based on temperature. Well, if he had a bad stem, that stem can't regulate the flow through the fan motor to get it up to proper speed, and his engine was overheating. So I think I'm saying that right, Jimmy, if we're talking about the same machine, because it seems like we get a lot of these overheating issues. But good, 2 stems out of the box. I don't usually see that. I have seen bad fan motors out of the box, but you had 2 stems out of the box bad. That's interesting, because that kind of goes back to our whole what do we call it? Yeah, just bad parts right out of the box. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird. Nobody should be here right now. Let me just glance out the door, because it sounds like someone is taking something. all good. Where are we at? Oh, let's see. All right. Phone Nichols says, I used to diagnose these machines the best I could do without the software. At one point, I need a laptop. Best investment I ever made. There's not enough think. Yeah, so he bought one of our laptops. Thanks, man. I do appreciate that, and I'm glad it's helped you out to be able to do your job. I've sold so many of my systems to rental companies. I just met with one of our local companies here that just bought my complete system because they've got, well, I can't tell you how many millions. I think they've got over 60 pieces of Bobcat equipment, and they're our local dealer, Bobcat, they will not supply them. So they've bought millions of dollars of Bobcat equipment, and they still will not sell them the interface or give them access to the software to do their own repairs. So they just bought my kit. So a lot of rental companies buy my kit because of that. They'll have 10, 15, 20, 30 machines, and a lot of times they're hours away from the dealers, or the dealers are 2 or 3 weeks out from being able to send an on-road mechanic out there to even plug into it, to even see what's wrong with it. Now the rental company buys a laptop. They can call me within 30 seconds. I'm logged onto their computer helping them troubleshoot it if they're stuck. The system gives you everything you need to do your own troubleshooting, but sometimes people need help with SCR systems or engines, or finding out exactly what's going on the engine side. That's where I spend most of my time, is on the engine side. But I'm glad it helped you, and it's helping many, many other people. I come in 2 hours before everybody else, and I stay 2 hours before everybody else, after everybody leaves, just to build and work on those laptops. I try to do that in my own time outside of what we're doing during the day, because during the day we're so busy with everything else, I don't have time to do it. So lots and lots and lots of hours here lately. Dan just got the T590 with the bad drive motors off of your recommendation. Thanks again. You have to remind me what that was. You just got the T590 with bad drive motors. Did you buy it? I'm sorry, Dan. I talk to so many people every day. I don't know. But I hope you bought it. Let's see. Tara Olson, you saved us this week having to replace new engine. Local Colorado dealer would not work on it, saying it needed a new engine. Thank you so much for your help. Tara, I appreciate you taking the time to jump in there and mention that. Because like I said, we do this so many times a day, every day. I'm glad we were able to help you save an engine. So that's what, 2 engines just this week that we've saved having to be replaced. So that's 30 behind me. Yours would have been 25, because I think that was a D24. That's $50,000 in engines and customer savings that we've saved in less than a week. But again, we do this every day, every week, so hundreds of thousands of dollars we're saving you, but the dealers see that as me taking that money out of their pocket. That's why they're not happy with what we're doing here. So thank you for your support, appreciate that, and thank you for leaving that review there. I really do appreciate that. Is there any way we can be a part of the training? I thought about that, Hardell. I think I'm gonna try, probably not. We might experiment with it this session. Thank you for asking that, because I think what we're going to do is we're going to try to set it up to where we can do it almost like a online classroom. You might just miss some of the hands-on, because we are going to do hands-on. But what we will do is show how we're doing the hands-on, the test we're doing. We pull the injectors, how we test the injectors, and we take the injectors apart, we look at them. That's a great idea, and I've been thinking about that we might do it live over the internet, or we might even record them and just, there'll be private videos that we'll set up some type of classroom or some sort of training thing that people can use to help learn about these, because that is our whole goal here, is to help people. But I have to spend time putting all that together. So when people come here, that's why it's a very small fee, because I want these people to be more productive and better at what they do, and we all share ideas. I don't know everything about these engines. When people come here, we share experiences. We bounce ideas. I've seen this. Well, I've seen this. You know, the East Coast guys see stuff that the West Coast guys might not see, and vice versa. You know, cold weather versus warm weather climates, humid climates versus dry climates. We all see different things. And I think a big part of training is just getting with different groups of people and sharing experiences. So to have someone from your area, like Guyana, would be incredible. That way you could just, on the live video, throw in comments just like we're doing here, and let's just share experiences and talk about them. Because there's a lot of learning we can do from just talking about what we've seen and what we did to fix them. And okay, well, if you did that, I've seen this happen, vice versa. That's a great idea. So it might not be this session, but the first quarter of next year, that class, I think we are absolutely going to have it live, and there may be just a small fee to be able to get that link and join that live session, because we will have to put all that together and spend time to set up all that information. So although it may not be free, I think we will have that set up. It'll be a full classroom environment, and we'll just move the camera around as we're working on the engines and doing stuff. So that'd be cool. Thanks for mentioning that, because that is definitely in my plans. So we may try to, and to answer your second question is, yeah, we might try to record the training session and see if maybe we do a video. But the thing is, it's going to be an all day long event, because we are going to have components and take apart and swap parts for bad parts and good parts. So it'd kind of be, I don't see how an 8-hour long video would work. I could be totally wrong. Maybe we can chop it up into specific segments. I think just doing my individual videos might be better than just doing a classroom video, but I don't know. I don't know. This is all, it's going to be kind of new to me on the video side for a full classroom environment. Motorhead, welcome back. Woke DEI prep class, yeah. Daniel Matheson, do you know why Bobcat stopped with the all-wheel steer loader in my area? A major paving company has a fleet of like 5. They stopped with the all-wheel steer because, as I said earlier, when someone had the A300 question, that was the worst machine Bobcat ever made. The thing is I say they're the worst machine. They're just the more in-depth, the hardest to work on, the more problems, the most expensive to work on. And there's not a lot of them out there. Believe it or not, there's not much demand for the all-wheel steer. So if you don't have a lot of demand for a product that takes up a whole entire assembly line, let's just say you sell 100 all-wheel steer to 3,000 track machines, why are you going to take up a whole entire assembly line for a machine that doesn't have much demand to make other machines? So it's really a supply and demand issue. And unfortunately, these all-wheel steer machines are getting harder and harder to find parts. As they break, they're going to be more and more difficult to repair in the future. So if you're looking at buying an all-wheel steer, if you have to have one, keep that in mind. You've got an extra steering pump, so you might have a 4-stack pump. You know, you've got gear, charge, high flow, steering. I mean, you'll have a pump stack this long on those things. You're not going to be able to get those parts. You got steering valves, steering cylinders, hubs, wheel spin sensors, angle sensors. You got so many parts that are specific to the all-wheel steer machines, and they're not building them anymore, which means they're not going to support parts for them anymore. So if you're looking at buying one, keep that in mind. You might be some custom fabrication when that thing breaks down in the years to come. Right now, we can still repair them for the most part, but hopefully that answers your question. I think it's more of a supply and demand issue with the all-wheel steer, and it's just a very complicated machine. It's not like building a T76 versus a 66 where there's just different frame sizes. It's a completely all different machine altogether, and it takes a whole nother assembly conglomerate to even build those machines, so it just wasn't to value to keep them around. Bo Nichols says, I've been sitting at home for almost 2 weeks, haven't had a vacation in 10 years. My little girl was born on the 13th. Best feeling ever. Hell of a ride, I would have to say. Yeah, I didn't want to mention that earlier because I didn't know if that was personal, but congratulations. Now everyone knows that Nickel just had a baby. Congratulations, man. That is awesome. Out of California, he works for a rental company, and he is, we talk often. He's got a really cool TikTok channel where he shows a lot of Bobcat repairs and stuff, and he's showing some of our software and stuff that he's used to diagnose that stuff. So this guy does more on a single Monday than I do in a full month. I don't know, if you watch his TikToks, you see this guy has a hell of a Monday every Monday. It cracks me up. Everything is broke, it seems like, on Mondays for him. I don't know how you do it, man. I don't know how you do it. Let's see, Ryan. Second, the Bobcat classes used to get sent to Madison when I worked at the dealer. Yeah, they don't even have the Madison anymore. Everything is out of Aurora, Colorado, which is an absolute freaking dump. Man, I hate it. You know, everyone thinks that Colorado is these beautiful mountains and all this shit, and Denver, oh my God. Aurora is right outside of Denver, and Aurora is the place where all the gangs, you hear about the Venezuelan gangs taking over the apartment complexes. I feel like I can handle myself, but I'm scared to fucking death going to Walmart in Aurora, Colorado. I'm telling you, there's damn homeless trailers and camps all around that place. I mean, the Aurora, Colorado Walmart. If anybody knows anything about that, tell me I'm wrong. Holy hell, I was held at gunpoint riding down the road in Aurora, Colorado at a training class. We've had multiple Bobcat technicians drive their own vehicles down there. I drive my personal vehicle when I was going to class out there. And most of them were the Duramax trucks. We had several stolen direct. So we have a hotel, a dealer recommended hotel. So we've had 2 trucks stolen out of the hotel parking lot. And then we had 1 truck stolen out of the training facility parking lot in the middle of the day during training. They came in and stole the truck right out of it. One night I left, it was snowing real hard, so it was only several inches of snow on the ground, you know, so I'm going real slow. And one of my buddies from Texas was with me in the truck. If he was on here, he would back this up because he was with me. We're just going real slow, maybe 20, 30 miles an hour. You couldn't even see the curb because there was so much snow on the road. And it was pitch black dark, you know, it was after dinner or whatever. And this Camaro kind of came up behind us and like really close, you know, tailgating us or whatever, you know, no big deal. And then he comes around us and starts fishtailing and stuff. And I was like, man, this guy's about to wreck. And then I could just tell the way that he looked at me when he drove by that something was wrong. So he kind of just slid in the snow, fishtailed a little bit more ahead of us, and then he kind of hit his brakes. And I always carry my gun with me when I travel. I don't care where I go. And so I told my buddy, I was like, he's hitting his brakes, he's slowing down for some reason. I was like, grab my bag, because that's where my gun was. And I pulled out, set it in my lap, and sure as fuck, he slowed down, rolled down his windows, and all I could see was his teeth in his eyes, and a Glock pointed sideways right at me. I'm like, what the fuck did we do? You know? So I just kind of hit my brakes, and he just kind of rolled forward past us and turned like he wanted me to follow him in there. And I kind of wanted to, but my buddy was, yeah, I wouldn't have. I'm just talking like I'm big shit. But no, I just wanted out of the situation. But what did we do? We were going 20 miles an hour. There's snow on the road. There was no road rage to be had. Maybe I was just going too slow. But fucking, you couldn't even see the road or the curves. I don't know what happened. Anyways, it's just a fucking gangster losers. And then I was at the damn gas station in Aurora, Colorado. Sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent here. And you know, at hot boxing, they smoke out because of the damn weed and everything. So I pull up to the damn gas station. That's all you could see is like a Cheech and Chong video. And girl opens up the door of her car there at the gas station, and smoke's just pouring out of it. And it's just all weed, you know. And when the smoke cleared, they had kids in car seats in the back of that car. Just what a fucking shithole Colorado is. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Whatever. Where was I? See, man, y'all get me damn off on a tangent. Stuff that I get passionate on. Anyway, all right, let's see. I might have missed some things. Okay, Bobcat. Yeah, so he was talking about Bobcat and Madison. Now it's all in Aurora, Colorado, and they need to get the training facility out of Aurora. That's the worst damn place that anybody, why would anybody want to do business in Aurora, Colorado? Let's see. Yeah, Rodents for the wiring harness. Very good. harness, so several people are with the harness. Honda makes hot pepper tape to protect wiring. Interesting. That's interesting. We used, it looked like a sack of spices or something. I can't remember what it was, but when I was in North Dakota, they had a trick up there to keep rodents out because rodents were real bad and we were working on machines up there. We just had like a bag of like little spices or I don't know what you call it. Anyways, we throw it in there and that worked really good. The beginner just did spool seals on my new to me 1998 863. Your video helped me big time. The spool seals and plug were both blown out. Thanks for all the help. I'm glad that video helped you. You know, we try to do some of the most common issues you see on the machines in our videos, and the spool seals are very common. And what he's talking about, the plug was blown out. So when you cross drill the lift spool, they have to plug it through the end of the. My wife's reminding me of my language. I'm sorry. I told you, sometimes I get passionate and my language gets a little loose. The plug goes in there with an O-ring to block off that, and then they put a bolt in behind it. So, but if that plug and that tiny, tiny little O-ring goes bad, it'll leak through there. So when you do spool seals, it is a good idea to reseal the lift spool. Only the lift spool has that because you have to cross drill it for your float option. That's how your float passages are cross drilled through there. So we get more into that. Long story short, I'm glad the video helped you, and that's awesome that you did that job by yourself. That's why we do the videos, to help you do that, because I think I charged I can't remember, it's like $800,000 at the dealer to do a seal job like that, and you probably did it for $65. Bradley's looking for a replacement pump for his T190. Bobcat is out of stock. I'm wondering if he had some availability. Which pump is that? Let's take a look real quick. Let's just see what he's talking about on the screen here. See, we can go to shop.bobcat and see what they got. So 668-7863. Did I type that in right? 668-7863. Oh, you need a full static hydrostatic tandem pump. Notify me. Yes, they are out of stock. But that's a standard tandem pump. Check with Loader Part Source. Those guys have reached out to me a couple times. We haven't done any videos or anything with them, but they usually have these pumps, and I'm not sure if CR Components would have the pump. I think they're more the drive motors. Gosh, and I keep forgetting the name of the company out of Minnesota that I deal with that can find me anything. It's like Red River Hydraulics or something. But I would say tomorrow, if you haven't already, check with Loader Part Source, see if they have that. Let's see. I'm just curious, because it should be a pretty easy pump to find. Without gear pump, Fleet Pride, Zorro, Loader Part Source, tandem drive pump right here. So it's a Reman. They do have a core charge. So if they don't have this in stock, you can send them yours and they can rebuild it for you if you don't want to try to rebuild it yourself. The problem is rebuilding them yourself. If you lost the rotating group in there, the rotating group is almost as much as the pump. If you had to buy 2 rotating groups to repair your pump, it's almost as much as that pump yourself. So that's another option, is have someone rebuild it for you, like LPS. They've been around for a long time. It's a reputable company, and it might be worth giving them a shot to repair that. So you're not without options, I guess, is what I'm getting at. So check on that. And then Dan, as we were talking about, I must be way behind, but he says that his local dealer is cheaper than Shop.Bobcat usually. So, so yours must not have went corporate yet. Once they go corporate, that's when they start getting you. So, anyways, thanks, Dan. I'm glad you like the rants. At least somebody does. My wife doesn't like my language when I get on a rant. Let's see. There she is. Yeah, right below you. So see, Dan likes it. She's telling me to easy, calm down. Okay. No one can see the killdozer. Yeah, that would be a Bobcat 963 killdozer. That's the only thing a 963 would be worth, is welding up a bunch of iron. We're going to drive it right into our local dealership. Will a backup camera cause the display screen to go blank on a T66? We have all kinds of issues with the backup cameras and the display screens. There's a lot of reasons the screens go blank. A lot of them is software updates. But yes, we've had issues with communication from the screen to the camera, and a lot of times the camera wires actually get pinched in the rear door back there and cause all kinds of issues where the door closes, where it hinges. So to answer your question, yes, all that could be related. Best hydro alternatives than Bobcat fluid. Most people use an ISO or AW46. I'm gonna leave that for the older machines. Okay, once you get up into the R series, you do want to kind of stick with your Bobcat fluids for the most part. If you, it depends on your machine. Okay, it's tricky how I want to answer this, because I want to just tell you just an AW46. Any of your older machines, AW46, because a lot of those in the beginning required like a 10W30, like my 763, it's somewhere over here. That manual will tell you 10W30, but now they're saying an AW46, which is basically an ISO 46, is what our hydraulic oil is, and we've changed it a couple times. We've got a 46, we've got a 68 now, and now they're going back to the original all-weather, all-proven, what do they call it? Anyways, we got 3 hydraulic oils now. What we use in bulk is Shell. What do I use? Tellus. Yeah, so Tellus, it's a Shell product. Tellus MX46 is the Bobcat spec, but we buy that in bulk. So if you want to look that up, Tellus MX46. Tellus, T-E-L-L. Sorry, how do you spell it? Shell, T-E-L-L-U-S, Max, MX46. That's what we use for hydraulic oil. So I want to be careful how I recommend it. It depends on the machine, I can say that, but that Tellus MX46 is direct Bobcat replacement, so we use that in all the Bobcats. Let's see, Cat Dealer Service entry code is 111F on a 289D. So that 111F, 11F, 1111, 1110, 111C. I've seen a lot of standard codes that kind of start with that, but that's good information to have. Brady, correct me on this, but I believe there is a software update for that issue. Vermeer. So that, yeah, that's what I was saying, that sometimes the blank screen is a software update, and a lot of times that will fix it as long as it's not mechanical or a wiring issue where they get pinched back there in the back. So yes, Dan, you are correct, software update, which of course our laptop has, but on those screens you'll have to actually download the update for the panel into a thumb drive, and then we put the thumb drive into the panel and update the panel from the thumb drive. And we can do that all with our kit. But Dan, you're spot on. There was an update that took care of a lot of that blank screen stuff. Jamie says that's correct, so maybe he is talking about I'm so far behind. Let's see. Very much appreciate your willingness to share hard-earned knowledge. Thank you. I love to do it. Yeah, that's me. This guy right here, the F&A. Let's see. I recently had to change the EGR assembly on our 870. That was pretty fun. I'm getting the code H1432 on my T870. I already replaced the pressure sensor on the ride control, but I'm still getting the same code. Any idea what I should check next? So I'll have to look at the specific code on that, and since I'm by myself at the moment, it's hard for me to look up those codes on the fly here. Usually I have it already set up and logged in to do that. but I don't have it. Let me see if it'll just pop up for me and see if I can. Let's see. It says lift base pressure out of range low. Lift base pressure out of range. So base pressure out of, yeah, the ride control solenoid block, but you replace the pressure sensor on the, I replaced the pressure sensor on the ride control, but still getting the same code. Oh, so you said, so 1422. So out of range low, like I said, sometimes I'll almost have to look at the troubleshooting tree, because sometimes our out of range low would be an open, but sometimes it can be a short too. It's just weird how they do it. You would think that out of range low would always be one or the other, and it's not always the case with Bobcat. Oh, Dan, you're dude. Why don't I just follow along here and find out that you're already way ahead of me? So base pressure solenoid out of range low. So that's the base pressure. So what it's doing is it's ride control works by there's a block on there that basically has an accumulator, and it allows your oil to bounce. So the oil in the lift cylinders can now push against an accumulator, which is nitrogen-filled spring. It acts like a spring, but it's a bladder with a nitrogen field, and it allows it. So it's the sensor that detects the pressures, what they call the base, because that's the base of the cylinder, the oil that we're trying to absorb the shock on. That's how the ride control works. So it's almost like, let's see, harness is probably the issue if the sensor was already replaced. I agree, Dan. If it's not the sensor, then we have to look at the plug. It could be the connection, a pushback pin, a broken wire. All that's tucked in. That back area back there is kind of hard to get to behind the filler neck and all that. It's all kind of sandwiched back in there. So it's tracing that back, and then that kind of goes along the frame up around the control valve and all. So there's going to be a lot to that. So if there's nothing obvious there, I would have to get the schematic for that, and we would ohm out that circuit, see if we could get, ohm out the pins in the plug. It should just be a 2-pin plug. It might be a 3-pin. I'm not familiar with that sensor. It could be a 2 or 3 pin, but we'll have a way to ohm that out, and then we'll probably have to continuity test it all the way back to the controller if we can't find anything obvious. So Dan is already spot on with his diagnosis there. Hardell says he's looking forward to the training. No problem with the fee. I don't mind take the day off from work and join the training online on Zoom or any other site. Hardell, I might just put it together for you to help me test this, and then give me suggestions based on what you're seeing on your end. We'll do that. I'll just send you the link December 2nd if you're available, and feel free to join in. Let's just do it. I'll set it up. I'll make it happen. Check pins for corrosion at the sensor and the controller. Yep. Going back to the 1422 base pressure out of range low. Maybe the accumulator has gone bad. I haven't messed with too many of those. If the accumulator was bad, then we probably wouldn't be an out of range low. We would, shit, now you got me thinking about this. Because I don't troubleshoot a lot of ride control circuits. So we're trying to answer this off the top of my head. I'd have to look at the schematic. I'd like to hook into one of my machines, because I've got ride control on my machines, and see what exactly that sensor is measuring. I don't think I would get an out of range low with a bad accumulator though. I'm not seeing. I think it would be. I think we would have pressure codes, but not an out of range low. Because let's say the accumulator was bad, we have a high and a low tolerance. We have a max and a minimum. If we go beyond the minimum, that's when we get out of range low. So that could be an open or a short. In this case, it sounds more like an open circuit to me. Yeah, because even with the bad accumulator, if everything was working, we would still be within range, but we would have a low pressure issue. Let's see. Yeah, Dan and Faux Nickel, y'all hook up, man. You two guys are some of the best in the country, as far as I'm concerned. FYI, if you ever have issues with the max control, it's 99% probability that it is moisture, as in most R series. 3 systems now. Every time it was because of moisture. Moisture issues have not been Bobcat's friend lately. I mean, I can't tell you the chart that I saw. It'll blow your mind on how much they had allotted for warranty payout based on the issues they knew they were having. Millions and millions and millions of dollars were designated to warranty accounts to repair this problem with moisture in the harnesses and controllers and such. Astronomical amount of money, and it's not like Bobcat's making the harnesses. They hire an outside company to make these components and these harnesses, and the warranty would eventually be put back on them, just like your drive motor, right? Let's say you warranty a drive motor through Bobcat. Bobcat's going to go back to Rexroth, who made that drive motor, and warranty it through them. So it's the original builder is who's currently at fault as far as that goes, as far as I'm concerned. Let's see, moisture where at? I'll mark it down. Moisture is everywhere. Dan, you know that, especially in your side of the country. So like, and that's what I was talking about. Like, so you're in like the humid climates will see more moisture issues than I will in my climate, because we're so dry. I'm almost like a desert climate until it starts to snow. What happens in our climate is the snow sits on top of the machines, and it's not like it just rains for a day. This snow melts day in, and then it freezes at night. Sun comes out, it continues to melt, then it freezes again at night, and it's just constantly getting into these things and freezing and just causing all kinds of issues. Because it's more of a slow torture with the snow than just a quick rain, I guess. Are you guys just talking amongst, let's see, the pin connectors, they replace the connectors on the system, ordered warranty is out, we're having to remove everything we use, and agreed Colorado went to hell. Yes, at least someone agrees with me, man. Everything you see on TV is how beautiful it is, and it is beautiful, don't get me wrong. But, and I don't want to get on this whole, political and views, whatever. I'm more of a libertarian type of view, do what you want. But once it's the legalization of drugs is what it was. Okay, we can go into, we could all have a big conversation about it. But you're just going to legalize drugs with the intent to regulate, but there's no regulation. Once they did it, it just went to hell. It's just like a free-for-all. Yeah, that's just like, anyways, I can make all kinds of analogies, but let's not offend anybody. Let's see, I've seen that before, young ones smoking, grossy weed around the kids, which nothing makes me more, these poor helpless kids were in car seats. Going back to when I was in Colorado, rolled down the windows, smoke just boiling out of there, and then once the smoke cleared, I saw 2 kids strapped into car seats in the back of that. What do I do? I don't know. You want to help, but for some reason, that image has haunted me for some reason. A lot of people might not think that's a big deal, but to me, Faux Nickel's here for the cuss words. I want to say some more now. I don't know. It really bothered me. I don't mind the dude driving up to me and putting a gun in my face. That's no big deal. But when your helpless kids are in the back seat of your car and you're anyway, so my 873 is, and again, I saw a lot of stuff. I haven't spent a lot of time in Aurora, Colorado, but I saw more bullshit in Aurora, Colorado than anywhere else. I've been all over this country. I've lived in so many different states, worked in so many different places. Never in my life, even south side, I grew up in Atlanta. I've been to Chicago. I've I've fucking Aurora, Colorado. Holy shit. Whatever. 873 is leaking oil in the right side cavity. Do you think it's the tank? I have no idea, Brian. Right side cavity. I'm assuming you're thinking the right side wheel well outside, kind of underneath the control valve. It's hard to say. The right side of the machine is usually where you do get the oil leak because it can be anything. There's so much stuff on the right side. Your main control valves over there, your spool. We were talking about spool seals leaking earlier. Those are hard to see. They leak out the back side of the control valve and they leak into that cavity. So I'm assuming that's the cavity you're talking about, the between your axles, underneath, like between your wheels. Is that the cavity you're talking about? Majority of the time, if it's a leak you can't find, it's usually coming out of the spool seals on the control valve, but it could be anywhere. That's a pretty hard question to answer without being able to see the machine. How do you feel about Icon tools, especially their wrenches? That's why I haven't done a video on my truck, because I think everyone will make fun of me about all my Harbor. My truck runs on Harbor Freight tools. So how do I feel about the Icon tools? I love them. I'm going to be honest with you. I love the Harbor Freight tools. I love the Harbor Freight brand, and not just the Icon. I could go over here and pull out a 1/2-inch drive extendable Harbor Freight ratchet, the original gray and black one. Like, this thing has been through the oil fields of North Dakota for me. I've probably had this ratchet for 12 years. It's missing one of the screws for the plate, and I hammer on this thing, dude. I've never broke it. People break tools all the time, but these people are freaking animals. If you know how to use your tools properly, okay, you know what to use a 3/8 drive ratchet for. You don't adapt a 3/8 drive ratchet to a 1-inch drive adapter to an 1.5-inch socket. You're going to break your 3/8 drive ratchet. But if you know how to properly use your tools, they're going to last forever, dude. I buy a lot of Harbor Freight stuff. Number one, it's affordable. Number two, I do believe it's quality. Number three, they stand behind it. You walk right in there. I've never had an issue with a couple things. One ratchet I didn't break because I did put a pry bar on it, and what I did is I broke the plastic right off the end of the handle. It was a comfort grip plastic handle, so I pushed on it with my bar and I broke the plastic end off of it. I didn't like the way it looked. I walked into Harbor Freight and they gave me a new one. The Icon, the long double end box ratchet wrenches, God, I love them things. And I use my 3/4 a lot, and they're really long, so you can really put a lot of torque on them. I didn't break it, but it just felt a little loose to me. I walked in, they opened up a box, handed me another one, no questions asked. It's extremely convenient, extremely affordable, and they're really changing the games as tools, guys. I'm sorry, but the tool trucks are really going to have a hard time competing with this Harbor Freight stuff. Guys are not. Well, me personally, I'm kind of frugal with my money. If you know how to use your tools and they work good for you, buy what you like, buy what you can afford. I buy a lot of Amazon tools too. Gray pneumatic, I love gray pneumatic sockets. What are these new sockets I got back here? Well, I don't know, who am I talking to? There's nobody here. All I hear is crickets. Capri from Amazon. They got. I'm a huge fan of the mid depth. A lot of people don't like mid depth sockets, but that is my go-to. I grab my mid depth for everything. Capri's got this awesome kit, short, mid, and long sockets on this aluminum tray, dude. For the price, you can't beat them. They're incredible sockets, and I put them right next to my Matco sockets. You cannot tell that it's the exact same marking, same stamping, both Taiwan. They're the exact same ones, just different name brands on them. I can't tell the difference. So I very, very rarely break tools because I feel like maybe I know how to use my tools. Thanks for asking that, because I do. I'm a fan of Harbor Freight tools, and I wish more of these kids. We do buy special. The tool trucks come here, and we'll buy special tools and stuff from the tool trucks. but they're running out of special tools that we're going to pay that exponential amount of money for when the other stuff works just fine. When everything else in our life, like for mechanics, we're the only, I can't say we're the only, but we invest more money to do our job than a lot of other jobs and career. You know, most people just go and sit in an office or whatever the hell they do for a living. We have to constantly, every day, every week, buy tools, and you know, we'll break jacks, you know, bend jack stands because we're using them in the gravel. Like we tear stuff up and we have to replace it, and it's expensive. So these kids and these new people coming into the business, dude, look at the U.S. General, look at the Husky Home Depot Husky boxes. Dude, Craftsman's trying to get back in the game. Craftsman is what our parents, our grandparents, and everybody grew up on, and Craftsman's coming back, dude. Look at some of their toolboxes and some of their toolkits and some of the stuff they're coming out with. There's a lot of competition out there in the tool game for some reason, but it's and everybody has those lifetime warranties now. And it's easy. You walk in the Lowe's for Craftsman. You know, Lowe's has Craftsman now. Husky is Home Depot. Of course, Milwaukee at Home Depot. And then your Harbor Freights are popping up everywhere. So I you know, I don't want to hear about the USA China bullshit. Sorry. You got convenience, affordability, reliability. You know, there's things that we need to do our job, and yeah, I got to be careful how I go about that. But anyways, yes, I am pro USA, of course. But I also got to buy milk and eggs for the damn kids when I get home. All right, let's see. How do you feel about, okay, all right, no blown hoses. Let's see, my Kubota dealer here in Canada carries a variety of pumps. Yeah, there's plenty of options to find pumps. Let's see, Dan had Conequip out of New York. That's a good, yeah, you told me about that. I remember that. LPS has been great, so that's Loader Part Source we were talking about, so good. I'm glad you had good luck with Loader Part Source. We had a couple questionable pumps that we tore down from Loader Part Source, and Mike and I think we did a small video on it. So I think they did a good job, but what happened is they were using used parts out of other rotating groups. It's not that they were bad, but they were used parts. I feel like if you're buying a reman pump, you should have reman or at least new rotating group slippers and stuff in there. And when we opened it up, we only had a partial new rotating group with used slippers in it. And it's not that it wouldn't work, but there was issues with that pump. We kept it here for training to show that on the inside. On an 863 I got, the Deutz motor had a knock on cylinder 4 and eventually blew the rod through the block. Turns out a few cheap 863, 873s on the market have holes in number 4. Was that a common Deutz problem? I'm not aware of that being a common Deutz problem. Is anyone else? Where's Motorhead or one of these guys were really good with the Deutz stuff. I don't see that to be, in my experience, I have not seen that to be a common problem. Question on part number 6684911. Rotten chewed through both left and right sensors barely, like half an inch or less of wires. Can those be soldered if fixed if possible? So what is a 6684911? Let's see. Like if there's enough pigtail there left, yeah, I think we did talk about that. They are pretty sensitive to resistance, so I think if you had if you have enough wire left coming out of the sensor to solder it, I mean, it's worth a try. Yeah, out of stock, and who knows if they'll even make them anymore. I might. No, I don't think I've got one of those here. But Yeah, I mean, it's worth a try. If there's no other options, that's why I like watching. You ever watch them Pakistani videos? We were watching those today. It's like they're out there in flip-flops and in the mud, and they're rebuilding engines and stuff on the ground in the dirt with flies and stuff everywhere. And it's like, because they don't have any other choice. That's the only choice they have. And in this case, this is the only choice you have, is to at least try to fix it. You have to do something, right? Because there's no other option. So yeah, give it a shot and let me know how it works out. Hopefully you can get it fixed. Back order and are no longer available. See, that's the thing with these parts is they're not concentrating on making them anymore. They're trying to get new machines out, new parts. It's hard enough to get the parts to build the new machines. So they're not focused on building old machines. The factories that were building all these old parts are now building the new parts, and they've run out of the old stock, and they're not building the old stuff anymore because there's no demand for them. Where are we at? We're only an hour in here. Let's see. Been looking for a 205 Bobtach valve for 8 months. Part number, it seems like they don't exist anymore. Bobtach valve. So is there no change in that number? A lot of Bobtach valves have been upgraded, so they will. Let's see, 1786. So the Bobtach valves, there's several different options, but they all bolt to the pump exactly the same way. But yeah, so that one's been discontinued. But I just wonder if there's any other option based on your serial number. So I'd like to look at your serial number in the actual parts diagram and see if there's another option. Because again, the Bobtach valves, they bolt to the back of the pump, and it's an oil diverter valve. Basically, it pulls pressure. It steals pressure from, it steals flow. Okay, pumps make flow. Resistance to flow is pressure. Sometimes someone's going to correct me, so I'm going to make sure that we understand that, yes, we know how it works, but we're stealing flow from the pump and diverting it. It's an oil diverter valve. And we've had a lot of different style valves, so just because that part number is not available, I can't see why one of the other valves wouldn't work to get you up and going, but I'd have to look at the serial number on that. How many gallons of hydraulic fluid do you have to buy to do a change? So, well, that all depends on the machine. 5 gallons for an excavator, 2.5 gallons for a skid steer, just to do like an oil change. An oil flush, like on a skid steer, you're about 5 gallons. But you see, you're not going to be able to get all the oil out of the system. We pump the oil out of the auxiliary line instead of draining it. That way you get about 20% more oil in the system. But you're still your pumps are still going to be full of oil. Your cylinders are still going to have oil in them. Your motors are still going to have oil in them. So you can't get all of it. You'll have to do multiple flushes. So if we're just talking about a drain and refill, 2 gallons on a skid steer and about 4 to 5 on, depending on the excavator. But there's so many different sizes and stuff. Have to know more specifically what type of machine you're talking about. 2018 T7070 runs out of fuel. Pump bulb is collapsed. Disconnected line to it, and it has a vacuum on it. Gosh, as soon as I scroll, I lose it. I'm so far behind. So, you know, the first thing we check on those a lot of times is make sure you got the right fuel cap on there. That's the very first thing we look at, is the color of the fuel cap. Make sure it's a vented cap. Because if you lose the cap and you go to the hardware store and you get a non-vented cap, the tank can't breathe and it sucks itself flat. So that's number one. Number two is usually there is something in the tank getting pulled up into the suction tube in the tank, being a 2018. So we don't have a screen on the bottom of that tube. That's just going to be a straight pickup tube. It's going to be like a weighted tube, but there's not a screen on it. So if there's a lot of debris in the tank, then those multiple holes in that weighted sink, I guess, on the bottom of the line can get clogged up. Or it'll keep pulling pieces up into the pickup tube, and right at the top of the tank, you got a 90-degree metal fitting. and that's a sharp 90 degree. So what happens is debris will go up in order to get, it won't make that 90 degree to get sucked all the way toward the fuel filter. It'll get stuck right in that fitting in the top of the fuel tank. So a lot of people will miss that. They'll be checking the lines, they'll disconnect the lines, they'll blow the lines out, and they'll say everything's good. Well, the only thing they didn't blow out was that 90 degree fitting, and that's where the restriction is. That's two. Number three, if you have a bunch of mud and stuff under your engine, those lines, the way they route them underneath the oil pan, if you have a bunch of mud and debris in there, that can literally crush the fuel lines and start to pinch them off, and that'll cause a restriction. So somewhere, if your bulb is sucking flat, there's a restriction from the bulb basically to the tank. I mean, that should be pretty much a free flow through there. So that's just several things you're just going to have to check. You're just going to have to work your way all the way back and see if you can find that restriction. Sometimes we can't find the restriction. We just end up, it's the inside of the tube could be coming apart or collapsed, and we just replace the whole fuel line all the way to the tank. So hopefully that kind of gives you a couple of ideas where to take a look at that. Let's see. Brady, great channel. Greg says, great channel. 2021 Toolcat 5600. I get 3 error codes when outside temp drop below 45. Then goes away when temp gets over 50. 6604, 5656. Oh, God, that's not good. Dealer updated the software in the harness. No help. Because that 5056 code, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I've been there before. In cold weather, as a matter of fact. Let me double check. We might have to schedule an appointment on this because I need to look back into that. So what happened? Let's see, which harness did they put in it? Let's see, it's updated software and harness, no help. Which harness did they put in it? The actual drive harness is usually what we see. That problem is the drive harness. So is that what they put in as the main harness that goes all the way back to the drive controller? And a lot of times, not only do I see that issue inside the fuse box, but that drive harness where it goes back to the drive controller, it rubs back there right around the hydraulic tank. So you have to follow that whole harness all the way back up and around there. And you've got other codes. I'd have to like associate all those codes together, but that 5056 code, we see it all the time, and it's always a wiring issue. I'd have to double check these other ones, like because I recognize the 5056, but the other two I don't quite recognize. I'll just have to see if they're associated with something else different that could cause that. Let me just check the 6604 ECU no communication. So yeah, so we're getting multiple communication codes, it looks like. 3716. Let's see, 37-16. What is that? That one I'm not, okay. Oh, so you're getting, yeah, so this is all communication code. So when it's cold, that's interesting, because since it's all communication codes, there's multiple things that use CAN communication. So your joystick is one. Your joystick uses, when you press those buttons, you're sending a CAN signal out. You're not sending an on-off analog. So we've got, you know, the main controller, the drive controller, we've got the joystick, we've got multiple places that use CAN communication. So anything that uses CAN communication that has a short or a rubbed wire anywhere could cause that. And I think, I don't know why the cold affects it, because whenever I have a 5056 code, it's snowing and it's colder than hell. I don't know why. So I don't know if it's just always a coincidence, but you say the same thing as when it's cold. So yeah, those I just have to dig into. I wish I had, because I've dealt with it so many times, I wish I could just tell you to go here, here, and here. But majority of the problem is in that harness, but you say they already replaced that harness. So I would be looking at one of the other CAN bus circuits, your purple, your twisted, anywhere you have twisted purple wires. Do you run an attachment on it? Because if you run an attachment on it, the attachment harness is also CAN bus. You know, up there at your auxiliary lines, if that if that auxiliary harness at your auxiliary couplers is damaged, or you got moisture inside, so if you're on a snowblower or something and you plug in your 7-pin harness, if any of that's damaged, that'll cause all kinds of communication codes as well, CAN communication codes. So a lot of times the auxiliary harness is the problem on that. I'm glad I remembered that. So I can tell you that's the first place I would check if they replace the main harness, is do you run an attachment, and what condition is your auxiliary harness in. Dan says, I can't see why that would cause an issue. Solder sound. Yeah, solder the wires, see how it cool. Thanks, I'll be available. Hardell, I will. So I'll let y'all know. If anybody else wants to join that class, shoot me an email. I think it's pretty easy to find my email. And if it's, because I would like y'all to experiment. Like I said, it's going to be an 8-hour-long class. But if you want to just jump in and out and give me some feedback on what y'all would like to see, or if it's helping, and that'll help us set up maybe a full online class. And like I said, so each day we do something different. Engines are going to be Monday, hydraulics Tuesday, because a lot of people, what we try to dive into is basically flow, charge pressure, the way the pumps work, relief valves, replenishing valves, control valves and stuff like that. So there'll be quite a few different segments in the hydraulic class, so maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours on each different segment. So yeah, we'll try to record them and we'll try to do them live so that you guys can ask questions live and participate in the class. There's no stupid answers, there's no wrong answers, and like I said, participation, sharing your experiences and asking questions is how we all learn from each other. And I really encourage it, and I love questions when we're in a training environment like that, because everybody learns from even the most mundane questions. Let's see. Dan says Icon is great. I'm glad you can agree, Dan. I think what they're doing, and whether you want to call it knocking off Snap-on, whatever, you know, why can I buy this? I think the, you know, the pliers and all that are $15, $16, $17, you know, get them $14 on sale, as opposed to $90, $100, $115 off the Snap-on truck. Dude, I just don't see. Yeah, I can't do it, man. I put my money into dumbass meme coins, and I'd rather lose it on a damn AI meme coin than a overpriced tool. Aurora as bad as Oakland, California. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, man. I'm like, gosh, this place is not far from being like an Oakland or a Skid Row or something. That's what it reminds me of. I've never seen anything like it, man. I don't know. I hate it. And it's all like new. It's all like new construction being built. Aurora's like really being built up. But my God, the crowd it's pulled out there, just, I've never seen anything like it. Like third world country stuff. Like lawlessness. It's insane. Hope I'm not beating up on anyone from Colorado. Anyways, I have really good luck with Icon tools. Some of the Quinn tools and Doyle Plus, like you said, have lifetime warranty. You can't go wrong. I agree. Yeah, I got of course Icon. I've got Quinn sockets in my son's toolbox. One of these Milwaukee's back here. We got a lot of Quinn stuff in his toolbox. On my assembly table back here, I just bought that big 6-inch Doyle vise, and dude, that thing is nice. That thing is really nice. It's badass vise for, it was on sale for like $80 for a 6-inch vise. And I really hammer on this thing, hydraulic cylinders and stuff, and yeah, I love a Wilton vise, but a $600 vise opposed to an $80 vise, yeah, it's hard to. Can you hear the crickets, Mama? Oh, she's cricket. Well, I'm so far behind. Okay. Looking for an implement pump on a 763. Bought 2 different ones from Friday Parts. Both didn't fit. Bought a third from somewhere else, and the shaft is too long. Why? Because the 763 pump, of course, I have to look at serial number and what other option you have, but it's pretty straightforward. Again, Man, I need to give a shout out to the guy in Minnesota who gets me a lot of my pumps. If he can't cross the part number exactly, you give him a few dimensions and he sends you out the right pump. I just put one on a 763 last week that I bought from him. Red River Hydraulic. Who? I'm sorry, bear with me. I don't even know what email. I've got 6 different emails. That's why if you ever email me and I don't answer you, it's probably because I've got 6 different emails and I don't know. I miss them all the time. What is... Gosh. I wonder what email. Okay, here it is. For anyone looking for pumps, the guy that I use that really helps me, his name is Charlie Steelwell, River Fluid Power. And they are out of Minnesota. riverfluidpower@gmail.com. Let's see, does he have a website? Yeah, I'm sure they do. Contact us, riverfluidpower.com. Let's just take a look. So here's their line card here. So this Mr. Stillwell, like I said, if he can't cross the part number, so here is a gear pump that looks almost identical what would be on your 763, an aluminum pump. He'll just get a couple measurements from you, your shaft size from your old pump, and he'll nail it down for you. I mean, just based off size and a couple measurements, he can tell you the volume, flow, everything you need to know about the pump. So check these guys out when looking for hydraulics. Give them a shot. They reached out to me. I have a lot of people that reach out to me, soliciting business, and I don't mind giving you a shot, and buying parts from you. And I'm not always impressed with people who solicit our business, because sometimes we've had people solicit us to use some of these major companies out there, and they have kids from their marketing department, and that's what they're hiring, these kids out of college to do their marketing, and then they call people like me to be an influencer to promote their products. That's not the person I want to call me. I want this guy here. I want Charlie, the owner of the company, to call me and have a conversation with me. And I say, okay, I'm stuck on this, give him a couple measurements, and he proves himself and he impresses me. He sends me out the right product on time, excellent prices. He won my business. He called me, he contacted me, he proved what he could do. I just don't feel right when your influencer kid calls me to be an influencer for you and I don't necessarily stand behind your product. And I don't advertise it, but people are asking about these pumps. So I'm not out here pushing. I buy his products. I sell his products to my customers, but I'm not out influencing his business. But we are now, because you're asking, because he has proven to me that he is reliable and trustworthy and worth doing business with, if that makes sense. So thanks for asking. River Fluid Hydraulics, or River Fluid Power Solutions. Okay. All right. We got it. Enough about that. Where are we at? Let's see. The Cussman on Amazon. I'm going to have to look at those. There's a lot of good tools on Amazon, man. So what I like about the Amazon tools is that they're good tools. What I don't like about them is trying to warranty them. Although they're lifetime warranty, you have to contact the manufacturer, send them back, and then it's like the Capri stuff. I love those Capri ratchets. Man, they're nice. I've never broke one, but if I broke one, I'd have to contact them directly, probably ship it back, wait for them to ship me another one. Same thing with a Snap-on. Well, it depends on the tool. Snap-on can usually fix a lot of stuff, but if I was to break one of my Cornwell tools, he'd have to take 2 weeks to get me another one. So kind of the same thing. Trucks don't always have what you want, all their lifetime warranty. So anyways, the problem I have with Snap-on is the price. For instance, a set of wrenches, 6 to 24, Snap-on will still cost you over $700. You can't do that. Maybe if you're some race car shop owner, whatever, and you just have all these monies and sponsorships, yeah, buy your $700 set of wrenches. But you're one of my guys, straight out of college with a family, we know what mechanics make. We know what our, you know what I mean? We know what our, okay, I'm not going to tell you what my guys make, but you know generally what a mechanic makes. per hour, and they have to buy their own tools, and you get a $700 set of just one set of wrenches, and one set of wrenches, you can't do your job with one set of wrenches. $700, you can almost fill up a toolbox with Icon tools that you're going to be able to generate income and make a living with. So, yeah, you're right. That is the problem, is the price. And I'm not saying they are quality tools, but the difference in quality is not what, $600? Because that same wrench set from those nice wrenches that they're always comparing those Icon ones are like, what, $124, somewhere in that. I bought mine right at $99, with the coupon or whatever, but $700 for basically the same wrench set. You just can't do it, man. Wow. Am I that far behind? I am that far behind. No, I'm not. All right, I like Snap-on, but when you need to modify a socket or harbor, yeah, when you're modifying tools, it hurts a lot less. I can't tell you how many Pittsburgh wrenches I have cut in half in my truck. You're always cutting them, drilling them, welding them, whatever the case may be to make special stuff. I will not cut a Snap-on wrench, no. But hell yeah, I've got half my wrenches are Pittsburgh cut now. 13/16, I guarantee you, I got 4 halves of 13/16 wrenches in that top drawer right now. Timing belt, maybe we're going back to the Deutz engine. That was the biggest weak point on the Deutz engine, was the timing belt, but those don't usually throw holes to the side of the block. That usually, bends a couple push rods. It might even break your rocker bridge bolts out, but usually not a hole in the block, if that's what we're talking about. Phonicle says, my mentors have been wrenching for 40 years. I was lucky enough to work out of his toolbox and went on to get a good idea of the main tools I would need for myself. Yep. And a lot of what you do, I truly believe, is knowing how to use your tools. If you know how to use your tool, and I know that sounds like a very simple thing, right? Like, what do you mean how to use your tools? Everyone knows how to use a ratchet or a wrench. No, it's the combination of how to use your wrenches. You can get by with a lot less. Like, and some people just really, really like tools. If you look at the actual toolboxes on my truck, and I've been in field service for, God, I can't tell you how many years, but they're very small. So this Milwaukee box over here, you can see the size of it. And that's about all the tool space I have on my truck for actual hand tools. And that's not a big box back there. But there's not a thing I can imagine that I cannot fix out of that small box that's on my tool truck. But the guys in my shop will have these giant, huge tool chests with just tens of thousands of sockets and all different short necks, one side, I'm like, my God, they roll out the whole top and it's just like stars flashing and glistening out and just shit everywhere, thousands of sockets. I'm like, dude, I got like 6 rails of sockets and a few special sockets. Tell me one thing you can do out of your box that I can't do out of my truck in the weather, Anyways, enough about tools. All hydraulics are slow and motor laboring on E85, only 145 on them. Welcome to the E85. All hydraulics slow and motor laboring. Inlet section on your control valve, pull out the God, what's the spool? Someone help me out here. It just slipped my mind. The inlet section of the control valve, we call it the flushing spool. Flushing spool is what I'm talking about. The flushing spool, check it for scarring, scratches. We get a lot of trash in these damn E85s. Sorry, that's what I mean by welcome to E85. Is we're getting trash in the hydraulic tanks when they manufacture the tanks. This trash is going through there. If you got a what do you call it, a coupler on there, a hydraulic coupler, trash is getting into the system. But for some reason it's making it back to this flushing spool because the tolerance on the flushing spool is so tight. And if you have scarring and stuff on it, you can't really polish them out or anything because then your tolerances are gone and then it's shit. But whenever you got an E85 size machine with these issues start with the inlet section, which is going to be, if you're looking at the control valve, the far left-hand side of the control valve, and it's going to be a big Allen head on top of the inlet section. That Allen head is where your flushing spool is going to be. That's where we're going to start. And then it could be a million things, but it's so common on the 85, just start with your flushing spool and go from there. Because they're slow in the motors, so you're, yeah, flushing spool, okay. And you could, so go to, I'm trying, I know when I describe it, I describe it like it might be easy. I need to try to make sure you understand, you're following me. If you go to partscatalog.bobcat.com, look at the control valve, find the inlet section. In the inlet section, I think it'll specifically say flushing spool. And we could probably look that up while we're talking about it. But just so everyone knows what a flushing spool is, let's just do it. Why not? I'm almost caught up here. Is that okay with y'all? Let's just look real quick. Here's what I would do. Here's partscatalog.bobcat.com. I don't have your serial number, but we're just going to go E85. You've got very low hours on it, so I'm going to assume it is a newer serial number brake. Let's go to the hydraulic system. Let's find the inlet section of the control valve. Here's our inlet section. Here's that body that I was talking about, number 2. That's as a regulator kit. Regulators. Okay, but we call this a flushing spool, this section right here underneath this spring. So this is what I was talking about. This cap right here is going to have an Allen head. You're going to back that out, remove this spring, and this flushing spool should just slide right out. Use a magnet or something, just pull that out, and we're going to be checking that for any scoring, scratching, scarring. And it's not always right. It's not always right here on the flushing spool, but it's usually in this inlet section of the valve. So we might be pulling out other pieces of this inlet section of the valve. But this valve is where you're going to start for that issue, specifically the flushing spool. Hopefully that helps. Let's see, the old Craftsman wrenches, sockets, Sunex. Sunex is good stuff too. Yeah, I like to see the Craftsman stuff coming back. It just brings back old memories, you know. But have y'all seen that new Craftsman USA toolbox? Where is that at? Did I get scammed? Was that something on TikTok that they lied to me, Faux Nickel? You're the TikTok guy. Craftsman American toolbox. It looked pretty sweet. It might have been a TikTok scam. No, it's not. Check this out. Look at that. Maybe it's just a gimmick, but is that not cool looking? $5.99? I thought it was. Durable construction. Proudly made in the USA. See, there you go. There's an alternative to your Icon or US General. Looks like a nice box. I haven't put my hands on one of these, but I just thought that USA look was pretty cool. Moving on. Let's see. Front accessory harness. What is that in reference to? I can't remember. Front accessory. Was that going back to the 5600? I'm not sure. Antoine, hello, thanks. I have a Bobcat E26 from 2014, a KRA model, and the slew speed seems slow compared to the data sheet. My Kubota U46 announced the same value, seems much faster. Well, did you actually measure the speed? Because we do have specs on all that, swing speed and all that. So, I just have to know. So you're saying 9.3 RPM? Seems slow compared to the data sheet. So what is it versus, because I don't know the spec off the top of my head, but what is it versus spec? That would be interesting to see. William, let's see, it says I use a clear line. I can see hurt in my vacuum hand pump to check the fuel line from the primer back to the tank. Yeah, looking for air and stuff, but we also do use that clear line, yeah, to check for air and things, but good tip. I like Melrow IR old Bobcats, pre-high-tech ones. I like the IR skid steers, but the IR telehandlers, good Lord. Oh, through. Oh, that makes more sense. Okay. I use clear line I can see through in my vacuum hand pump to check the peel line from the primer back to the tank. Yep. Clear line is very handy when we're checking for fuel problems, issues. And going back to that fuel issue where his primer bulb was sucking flat, a lot of times just to eliminate everything else, we'll leave the same primer bulb in place. We'll just run another hose off of it right into your 5-gallon, diesel can, and just run it remotely off of a remote tank, just to make sure everything on the other side is fine. But usually, if your primer bulb's sucking flat, it's a restriction from the tank. Kendall from Illinois recently had to replace the left side panel on his T300 due to loss of communication. Those panels are getting harder and harder to find, so hopefully you were able to find one. And well, it sounds like you did. But yeah, those panels they have internal failures and they tend to go out. Let's see. Greg, it's Brady. I'll email you the error codes. Dan, okay, that's 56. Yeah, send me that stuff and we'll get back together. So when we're not doing a live event, we usually schedule appointments through our website. We take calls just a couple hours during the afternoons that you can schedule through our website. And sometimes that's the best way to do it, because I get that's why we kind of do these live events, because I literally get hundreds of emails, text, and phone calls a week. And a lot of times, if you just send me an email without scheduling an appointment, your email is going to get, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but the emails just get drowned out. Because I'll open it, I'll read it, but I'll read 10 of them at a time. But a lot of them take time for me to research, and I don't have that time. So sometimes it'll get lost in the email chain, and it's not that I'm ignoring you. I just don't have the time or the ability to research everyone's, issues. But if you schedule an actual appointment with me, if you're buying the time, then that's your time. I take that time to do the research, look up the codes, pull the schematics. I have everything in front of me before I even call you, before our appointment even starts. And we start to troubleshoot your specific problem because you bought that block of time. So that's how that works. I do try to help as much as I possibly can when I can. But like I said, when you're getting 10 to 20 a day, I bet on average that I get, I just can't answer them all. We got 12 people working here at our company that I'm responsible for half those, and I have to come in 2 hours early every morning to work on my projects. Then everybody else gets here, and then I pretty much have to run and manage the whole show for the rest of the day. And then after everybody goes home, I get to stay late for a few hours and work on my own projects again. And then if there's any time left, that's when I try to help other people. Let's see. Never come to New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, guns, 3 years in prison. That is absolutely insane. I don't know how the states can still override federal mandates, but I guess they do. But you're right, traveling with guns in other states like that, and I think they are going to fix that. Hopefully the Trump administration, ATF, will get that resolved, because that's bullshit. You can't cross a state line. I say you can't. You literally can't. But you can't. How can states overturn our Second Amendment? Our Second Amendment. All right, we're 2 hours into this. I'm completely losing my voice, so I don't know if I can keep going much longer. But you're right. That drives me freaking insane that other states put you in prison for crossing the border, carrying a weapon to protect yourself, when it's a federally protected right for us to carry and bear and own arms. Let's see. Oakland, California needed 2 service mechanics on one call to fix one machine, another to guard the truck. I've been in situations like that where I would not turn my back from my truck, and I would not even get my face down in the machine because I could not watch my back. I've been in situations like that, and I don't like it. But fortunately, other than Aurora, Colorado, I've never had an issue. I'm just, you know how we are. That's just in our nature as men, as we're always, right? We don't sit with our back to the door. We're always on guard, it seems like. NYC, yeah, New York City used to do that, do a service call on the hood a lot. Yeah, I bet. East LA, F-bombs. Yeah, why does my Bobcat 863 creep so bad? So 863, so there were several versions of that 863. Do you have the cable version with the tower on it? I call it the tower, which is above the pump. There was a lot of different versions on the 863. But if you got the standard hand controls, like one of my most recent videos is why the machines creep and how to fix that creep. But the 863 is kind of its own little machine depending on serial number, so yours might be like the video we just did. But go in there and it shows you how all the bushings and all the bearings and all that stuff work. But if you've got the tower with the cables, it's a whole different animal. So, but they creep because of worn bushings and worn adjustment on the pumps. We're manually controlling the swash plates by hand, and when you start to get wear in between the bushings and stuff, now your swash plates are not held tight by the levers, if that makes sense. So now the swash plates are just trying to find position. So since the swash plates aren't being held in place mechanically, they're just drifting a little bit, and that's what's causing your creep. So it's a bushing, and yeah. So yeah, so a lot of times you can just make adjustments and make it work, but sometimes there's so much wear that we can't change, or there's just not enough. There's not enough adjustment in there to. Yeah. So I see where we're going with this. A couple people are saying adjust the levers. Well, if he's never adjusted or nobody's worked on it and it's just starting to creep, then he's got wear, and we have to fix the wear. And sometimes we can't adjust the wear out of it and just keep going and just continue to put more wear on those components. The best way to do it is to replace those components. But just watch the video we just did something about. I don't even remember what I named it, but it's very recent that shows all that. It'll kind of give you more an idea of what's going on, and maybe it'll help you get yours straightened out. Let's see, 6,500 hours on a 1994 New Holland L785, original pumps, motor, nothing brakes, high-tech electrical. That's interesting. The New Hollands are kind of like the OGs. You know, I mean, it's like back when I was young, everybody who was doing landscaping, everybody had those big New Holland machines. Man, those things were monsters. I tried adjusting it, but it wants to stall the engine. Again, we kind of go over that in that last video we did. So I got rid of my newer machines, kept this one. Hitachi excavator required non-zinc hydraulic fluid. That's interesting, because we could go into hydraulic fluids forever. Like, we got a high zinc content in ours, but originally we were using just 10W30 motor oil with a low zinc content. But now we've got a higher mineral contents now. And it's funny because, like, I see, like Takeuchi, we're almost using a lot of the same hydraulic components, but like Takeuchi's still saying it like a 10W40. A lot of people are like, and then CAT, okay, a lot of the 10 weight hydraulic oil. We're using a lot of the same hydraulic components, same manufacturers, but they're saying 10 weight. These guys are saying 46. These guys are saying 10W40. Yeah. It's interesting. Let's see. A phone nickel out of Deutz blew a hole in the block because of the timing belt. See, that's interesting. That's what I was trying to get at, phone nickel. Thanks for sharing that, because I was like, most of the time, that is the failure, is the timing belt. But I've seen a lot of broken timing belts, and it's always either just a couple push rod bent, or worst case at wide open throttle, it would just snap the rocker bridge bolts off. And I guess there are situations, because it's just not in my experience I've seen the holes in the block. but I guess it could be the timing belt. I guess it hits the piston so hard on the valves, but usually, like I said, the rocker bridge is the weak point and just snaps it off. But usually it just bends push rods. But yeah, to blow a hole in the block, like you're breaking a rod, and a rod has to break and then go through the block. So interesting. Yeah, Cat oil is mobile oil, especially a 10 weight. Yeah, mobile supplied all our bulk tanks when I was at Cat. Yep, the yeah, 2011, 1011s, 1010s. Yeah, a lot of them kind of the same thing. Push rods bend or rocker brakes. Yeah, that's exactly what I was just saying. I've done a lot of them, and that's always a failure I see. It just seems like if there's a hole in the block, there was something else going on, and maybe the rod broke through a hole in the block, locked up the engine at high speed, and then it broke the timing belt. So maybe the timing belt a result of the block being, I don't know, I'm just trying to look at it different ways, because in my experience, I've seen a lot of broken belts, and it's always just top end, minimal top end damage. New Deutz 2.9, no gear, yep, good stuff there. Craftsman V wrenches are pretty good. I haven't used those. Well, I don't know. V wrenches, yeah. V. I have to look that up. And his toolboxes are Craftsman. That's cool, man. On the E85, where did you get the parts diagram? I guess you're asking me where I got. So, let's go to. I'll show the screen here. So, this is the online parts catalog for Bobcat. Let me go over here. So this is the web address. I don't know if you can see it up here. It's just partscatalog.bobcat.com. And this is what your screen will start. You can start with by putting your model in. So in this case, it was E85, so it doesn't matter what model you put in there. It'll bring it up. It'll give you your serial number breakdown. Let's just select a serial number, and then it gives you all the parts breakdown. So Bobcat, by far, I don't care what other make, manufacturer, model, I'll argue with you all day long, because I do it all day long. I look at the Cat, Kubota, I look at everybody's. Without a doubt, 100%, Bobcat has the best online parts catalog, hands down. Don't even try to argue with me about it, because nobody else can beat it. Sorry. Anyways, moving on, partscatalog.bobcat.com, and then to find the parts, that's when we go over to the different page. This is shop.bobcat.com. We can put in whatever part number that we want to, and it'll. So I was a bushing I was looking for the other day, just comparing prices. But anyways, pretty much any part. There is a lot of parts that are still not on here, but I'd say a good 80 to 90% of all parts you would be looking for are going to be on shop.bobcat.com. So always compare this price with your dealer. Because like I said, my dealer downtown will be 40% higher than this price. So this same bushing will probably cost me $16 if I buy it local. As opposed to here, where Dan in Texas, he has a local Bobcat dealer. He said sometimes his dealer is actually cheaper than the shop.bobcat.com. However, if you buy from shop.bobcat.com, since they protect their dealers, so if I bought this bushing right now, they would send a commission to my local dealer. So I bought this for $12.49. They will send a 30-cent, I'm just pulling this out of my butt, they'll send a 30-cent commission check to the dealer, since I bought a part that they shipped into their protected area to a customer. Does that make sense? So every dealer still is getting a commission, because all the dealers were pissed off that Bobcat starts selling parts and putting the price. Like, who else does this? Go to Kubota, and can you buy parts from Kubota? No, you have to buy it from Messick's or someone. You can't buy it straight from Kubota. You're buying this straight from Bobcat. You can't do that from Cat either. You have to buy it from your local dealer. So since Bobcat's doing it, the dealers are like, whoa, now you're cutting out this huge, it's all about the fucking, my wife's going to yell at me. It's all about the money, right? And so in order for you to buy these parts, the dealers raise hell. So they have to send money back, commissions back to the dealer. Anyways, I digress. Where were we at? Where did you get the part? Okay, is there a way to turn off the ability to do more than one function on 2021 E85R? Yes. When tracking, using the bucket curl, moving the boom, functions are all slowed dramatically. Second pump would be nice. So you need to do a pump setup on the E85. Someone needs to redo the pump setup on there, because a lot of factors go into a pump setup, and what we have to deal with is engine horsepower versus hydraulic horsepower, right? Hydraulic horsepower has to be equal to or less than engine horsepower. So if your pump's not set up right, you're going to be pulling too much. You're going to require, or you're going to be asking your hydraulic system for more hydraulic horsepower than your engine can produce. So let's say you buy a machine and you're working at or around sea level up to 1,000 feet. Let's say non-turbo engine for now, because this goes back to like our Ingersoll Rand or Kubota. Let's just say we had a non-turbo engine. Altitude affects that engine greatly, more so than a turbo, but even a turbo engine, altitude affects horsepower of that engine. It just does, it's facts. In my area, once we get up to 6, 7, 8,000 feet, even 4, 5, really it's about 6,000 feet, we have to start turning the pumps down. We have to de-stroke. We have to take some hydraulic horsepower away from that pump so that our engine can still maintain the ability to work multiple functions without bogging the engine down or just killing the machine altogether. We're just demanding too much. So your dealer or someone needs to do a proper pump setup on that. You should be able to boom stick, dig, and circle all at the same time with a properly set up machine. Jeff says, thanks for the info. I didn't want to plow air back in. Yeah, you don't want to blow air back into the tank and screw up a check valve. I'll try the remote fuel supply. So yeah, try remote fuel supply. So like I said, we didn't have that check valve on all our machines. Usually the older machines had the check valve in them, but you're right. You don't want to just go blowing back into the tank if you don't know what's in there. So that is very wise to not do that. Email, let's see, Marty says, this is the boss right here who runs the show, Marty Wood. Emails may have to reply with a link to schedule moving forward. I don't even know what that means. Emails may have a reply with a link to schedule moving forward. I don't know. Maybe, is that our meetings are to schedule an appointment? I'm not, sorry. I should know what she's talking about. I just don't. Okay. So I'll schedule an appointment. Thanks again. 2 minutes, and dealers got more info out of you in 2 minutes than 2 dealers in hours. Yeah, that's what we try to do. Like I said, the dealers are not willing to help you over the phone. They want that hands-on, call-out fees. Yeah, they're not going to help you over the phone. The slew speed of my E26 seems around 8.3 RPM, data sheet 9.3, so you're about a full RPM lower. The guy tried another E26, told me mine seems slower compared to the other ones. So I'd have to look at the serial number and the schematic on the E26 and see why. You know, on the E26, I think you've got a triple stack pump, and each pump handles different things. So speeding it up, I don't know that there is a speed up because that's just a flow thing. Like, I don't know of a way to turn that up and make it faster off the top of my head. And it could just be we would have to test the efficiency of the pump, right? And we test efficiency by running through basically a flow control device or a flow meter with a restriction on it, and we can check flow with restriction and without restriction, and that gives us a guys, I'm sorry, I'm 2 hours into this. I'm done. I can't talk anymore. But we have to do a pump efficiency, and just we would have to make sure that our pump is meeting efficiency. And if we know that we have full flow compared to spec on the pump, then we would go somewhere else, like to the slew motor or something, because it could be a slew motor issue. But first we'd have to know the condition of the pump before we go anywhere else. Man, you were on late today. Yeah, that's what he's saying from South Mississippi. Just wanted to let you know your videos have been a huge help keeping my old S185 going. Dealer doesn't care about a farmer with one machine. Dealer doesn't seem to care about much of anyone except their bottom line anymore. That was me talking, not him. Thanks for that. Antoine, check the anti-cav valve. No Chinesium metal garbage. Deutz has an issue with fuel pump diaphragm. Yep, we did a video on that where that diaphragm leaks oil into. Well, it can go both ways. Oil can get back into the fuel system, and fuel can get back into the oil system. Xmark does the same thing. Let's see. Link to schedule appointments. Oh, she wants me to add the link to schedule appointments. Nope. I'm done. I'm tired. I can't talk. Thank you, everyone, for being here. That was fun. Lots of views, lots of hours, lots of great questions, and a lot of good help. Thanks for letting me rant. Hope no one was offended by the language, other than my wife, of course, because she told me 3 times to shut up. Never to watch my language, because I don't even realize it. I get passionate about some of these things, and I just start to well off. Till next week. Hopefully we'll be back next week. Like I said, it's been hard here for the last few weeks, but we'll be back next week. Thanks, Dan, Nickel, William, for being here. Motorhead, all you guys are awesome. Lots of good information. We will